Welcome to the Better Outcomes podcast, where we discuss all things leadership, sales, and communication in Australian business. At Better Outcomes Training, we provide world-class training solutions for businesses who want to arm their teams with cutting-edge skills to lead better, sell better, and enjoy more success, purpose, and profit from the work they do. For a full breakdown of all the courses we offer, visit www.better-outcomes.com.au. There's also a link in the description. Now, on to today's podcast. Enjoy.
Welcome, everyone. Another episode 11, I believe it is. Better Outcomes Training Podcast here with the great man, Paul Harrison. Paul, how are you today?
Absolutely electrifying. Thanks, Cuz. How are you doing?
Good, mate. Good. Working hard. At times it seems like I'm hardly working. I'm stood there looking around, wondering what it is I'm supposed to be doing, but still getting stuck into it.
That's beneficial for your Instagram reels, yeah?
It is. You've got to take the time out for your socials and your fans, all three of them. So, it's a tough life.
Yeah.
Everything seems to be moving in the right direction. Everything's going well. As well as it can be. Long weeks, long weekends too. Yeah. So right through this week into the weekend, hopefully an RDO on Monday. So that'll be good. Get a little bit of rest.
Yeah.
Catch up with a few things. Haven't made it to the mats either. I've got a niggling rib injury that just won't go away, and it's not getting to roll. It's my favourite people in the world is irritating. I can tell.
It was. I went last night. I trained last night, and I was admittedly I was in a little bit of a funk before I went down there. But as soon as you're down there, man, and you see those big smiles, and as soon as you hit that mat, it's like, feels good to be here, man. Although I got like this gi rash all over my neck because we were doing bow and arrow chokes last night, and yes, try to cut the blood off to the big man's head. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's one way. That's one way. And the boys down there too. We've got the three lads. Well, the five of them all up, gone on over there, but the three lads who did the ADCC and was it Singapore, Thailand on the weekend?
Thailand, I think, yeah, Thailand.
Amazingly well. Jeez.
Yeah.
Cracking job. So shouts out to Cepho, Dave and Lockie.
Absolutely.
And also Jeremy and Sammy.
Yeah.
Representing us, and we couldn't be prouder back here. We were so happy, so stoked for you guys. Did awesome. And all the hard work they put in too, man, watching them.
Yeah. So, the guys grinded, huh?
Yeah, hopefully they'll fall in love with the process and they come back and take us all to a new level. It'll be awesome. Awesome. So now, today, negotiation. It's come up a couple of times this week, I believe. I think you've bumped into it a couple. I'm bumping into it currently as well at work. Negotiation around, in particular, where we look at salary.
Yeah.
Whether it's in the job that you're currently in and you're looking for a promotion or a pay rise, or whether you're shifting careers and looking at something new, or even just trying to figure out where to start with it all, and what kind of value you should put on, like what kind of a number you should put on your time, especially if you're like yourself and an entrepreneur. That kind of we'll have a quick look at that as well. So anything to do with that, and maybe we'll just do some basic negotiation talk as well, because I think it's kind of part and parcel. It all kind of goes hand in hand with all that stuff. Now, you've had a couple of inquiries this week, especially around salary negotiations. It's always a bit of a tough thing to handle. I think a lot of people like myself don't have a lot of experience with it.
Yeah.
Especially not in corporate world, I don't. So we'll hand it over to you, and you can give us a bit of a run through.
Yeah, because it was interesting. There was a negotiations course I ran for a client this week, and at the end of the training, I had two clients come up to, or two individuals came up to me, and they were wanting to know about what is their best positioning for going out and negotiating salaries. It's always a tough one. Negotiating a salary is always a tough one, and very often it can be very emotionally charged, because with regards to around salary time, and depending on the industries, people have different times of the year when they have salary reviews and stuff, and there's always conflict around salaries. And I think one of the reasons for that is particularly in an employee role, I think that very often we think that the salary is a direct reflection of the value that people see in us. And I think this can be a big thing, because I mean, I think on some level, every single one of us wants to see value that we bring. Every single one of us wants to believe in value that we bring. I think it's hardwired into our DNA with regards to, being accepted by a group if we're deemed as valuable and all of this good stuff. But obviously, I spoke a lot about with regards to the first thing primarily is seeing that value you bring, because again, so often people don't see it. And I know your ears are bleeding right now when I'm talking about this, but that's where it starts with everything. It's if you don't see it, and I often say this, I say to people at the beginning of the course with regards to the certificates we give them, I say, you'll get your digital certificates, which you can upload onto your social media and be the envy of all your friends. And a lot more ominous at your next salary negotiation, closely followed by how many of you deserve more money, okay, or how many of you think you deserve more money. And you know what? It's normally very early on. Nobody knows each other, so everybody's sort of looking around. But the odd hand goes up and there's an odd smile. But then from time to time, I have people who say, "We all do. We all deserve more money." I could take that a couple of different ways, but I've been considering sort of responding to that with, well, how do you know the person sitting next to you might be really lazy? You don't know. You don't have any idea.
True.
So, but in all seriousness, the truth of the matter is that if we don't see the value that we bring, then it's going to be very, very difficult to get a significant, to be aligned with requesting that salary increase. What are your experiences been, because when it comes to salaries or priced up pieces of work, what people are going to pay you, etc.?
Yeah, so most of mine, obviously being based around construction, is I worked for myself for a long time, sole trader, contractor, and it's always difficult when you're pricing some jobs. I used to take it on. Builders have their own set rates, but they're always a little bit negotiable with those, depending on your quality of work and how much you've done with them, things like that. They always tend to go, "Oh, if you give me a good price on this one, mate, I'll build 100 in a year. I'll get you doing them all."
Yeah,
there's always that kind of old gem, but it's something that I used to take case by case a lot of the time, depending on the job, also depending on how much work I had on at the time. But taking in, I started to get my mind open to, like you talked about how everyone believes they want more money, and the value that they bring to the table. There's also the other side when you actually start employing people, having people work for you.
Yeah,
it opens your eyes to the fact that you need that person to produce. It may be whatever you're paying them, minimum maybe 3 times that per hour or per day or however it's worked.
Yeah.
Just so that you can get, the business stays alive, so to speak. You can afford to keep the lights on and things like that. So early on in my career, I was exposed to that and always took that on board. So always try and make sure that if the person's giving me work, to make sure that they're getting really good value for money.
Beautiful.
So get stuck into it. Big work ethic. And make sure that, word of mouth reputation, again, is always the way to go. So I'm always down that track, making sure that everyone gets the best outcome. Everyone walks away happy. And, but also everyone's got bills to pay, yeah? So you've got to make sure that you know your value.
So, absolutely. So, Cuz, you were proactively looking for ways that you could add more value in what you were doing?
Yeah, of course.
And could you give us some examples of that? Because I think that's phenomenal, and obviously why you've been in high demand with everything that you do as well.
It's the skills I got. I was really lucky as an apprentice carpenter, and when I first started out in my career, I worked for builders who we used to do everything start to finish. So we'd rock up at times and we'd be doing demo work and then set out in concrete and everything right through to painting the front door and walking away.
Yeah.
So I got exposed to a lot of stuff, which was really good, because then the skills that gives you You don't really realize until you go out and start pricing stuff for yourself, and the person says, "Oh, you're just here to frame up the bathroom walls, and then I've got to find someone to hang the plaster, and I've got to find some." Oh, I can do all that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, really? Yeah, I'm a one-stop shop. You only have to come to me. You have to deal with one person. So that was
Beautiful.
like a selling point as well.
Yeah.
You know, and I used to say that to people, like, why get 5 or 6 people in? We can just get me. I'll do the whole lot.
Absolutely.
And you've only got one person to deal with. Then you work in and they get a good result out of it all.
Yeah.
You get the good experience and you work through things like that, and away you go. So that's where I always come at it from. Always.
Yeah, I like that. With regards to particularly, you've said to somebody, listen, I can do it all. And here's the thing. Here's what I'm willing to bet. If somebody says, oh, I can do it all, that's what they're saying, and they're true with that, but they're not talking about I can do it all and how that actually benefits then the decision maker. So if you just say, oh, I can do it all, it's like, okay, and then there might be some thought processes. Am I dealing here with a jack of all trades or a master of none? Or as soon as you say, I can do it all, I can do all of it for you, or I can do X, Y, and Z for you, which means that it's going to save you time, it's going to save you money, it's going to do this, you're going to have peace of mind, you're going to have one point of contact, you're going to have, a lot less. If anything goes wrong, you're going to have one person to speak to.
Exactly.
And I think that gives a lot of that. That really is such a good way of communicating that additional value, mate. It really is. But here's again the thing. I think that often we say, "Oh, I can do it all," and that's where it stays. We don't translate into how that actually benefits the end user.
Yes, exactly.
Which is awesome. Absolutely.
You've got to show them the benefits of it.
Yeah.
What you can do, like being multi-skilled, having transferable skills, whatever your industry or trade or career, having more skills is always a bonus. Always a bonus. If you're more skilled, than personal development, professional development, to me, it's huge. It's such a game changer. You can really get a leg up amongst the competition. Absolutely. If you and I was talking to a couple of young guys, even down at jiu-jitsu recently, and they asked me for advice. Any younger kids out there getting into the construction industry ask me for advice. I always say to them, listen, if we're stood next to each other, me, you and your twin, and you've got another qualification, like if you're looking for a labourer and you say, I'm just a labourer, but the other guy goes, I'm a labourer and I've got a forklift license and I can drive a scissor lift. If you're both the same price, the other guy's going to get the job.
Yeah.
Because he's getting 3 for 1.
Yeah.
And off he goes, So I always say to the young guys, it's hard when you first start out, but start out and get yourself a license. It becomes tax deductible, the first year. And then the next year you go for another one. And after a while, you've got 5 or 6 qualifications that other people your age don't have.
Yeah.
You've done it all on your own back. If you're lucky enough, you get an employer who says to you, listen, I'd love for you to go out and learn how to be a crane driver or be a forklift driver or whatever. I'll pay you to go and I'll pay for and I'll pay for the ticket, something that you get forever. So it gives you that little bit of an advantage. It gives you that little bit of an edge on the competition, so to speak, when you're in negotiations, when you're looking for when you're looking for a new role or something like that. You put your resume out and you've got 5 or 6 different skills, qualifications, digital certificates, however it is nowadays.
Yeah. That's
a bonus. It's always going with you. Learning, they can't take it away from you, man.
Exactly. 100%. 100%. And again, particularly when that learning transfers through into better outcomes. Yeah. If you can become a more valuable asset to your employer, you're going to be, firstly, I think you start developing that real growth mindset, which is beautiful. But secondly, you start having very firm footing to say, listen, I'm a better asset now than a better asset to the business. A lot of people don't like me talking about people being assets to the business. It's true. We're assets. To your point, we have to be able to make a return for our employer as well. Yeah. And if we can translate that learning into better outcomes, then I think that's, you do get a very, 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 firstly, you get noticed for what you're doing. Secondly, you develop a great growth mindset. But thirdly, now you've got a great negotiating skill to go out and become, more valuable to you, to your current employer or any potential employers in the future.
Yeah, precisely.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And the better outcome doesn't have to be for you either.
no,
Like, not right now. Eventually, it will be. If
yeah,
you're an employer and you're going, not only am I, this, but I've got these skills as well.
yeah,
It might be like you didn't even know that they needed whatever skill. You've done a mini MBA,
mm,
really? Well,
mm,
we're actually looking for this. We didn't know it yet, and opportunities open up. So it's something I really push on, especially younger people coming through, younger tradies and stuff. I want them to retire me, mate. We need these kids coming through. We need these
yeah,
guys coming through. Every time the boys at work stand there and look at me sometimes because we're at the front of job sites. We've got cranes and machinery, and we're up in knuckles and throwing steel in and using our whistles and probably yelling and cursing too much, and which we shouldn't be doing. But that's what happens. And you get these young kids that come by and they're fascinated. They stop and they look and they stare. A lot of older people too.
yeah.
A lot of people just stop and just stand and wave, especially to the kids. We stop and we talk to them and they toot the horn or whatever. And you get young kids walking past and just stop and stare, and they're like, "How do you get to do that?" And I'm like, "Well, all you have to do is not pay attention and muck around in school, mate, and you can come and work with me."
You're not sending down the wrong path, are you, mate? Go on.
No, don't have a bit of a laugh, but it's if you never know what your perfect job's going to be, you never know where your career is going to take you. So
Mhm.
the more opportunities and the more options, you've taught me this, the more options you give yourself moving
Yeah,
forward, you never know when you're going to need them. Never know when it's
absolutely.
going to pop up. Yeah.
Absolutely. There was again. I come back to these two people I was speaking to at the end of the training this week, and I could see sort of the level of discomfort with regards to having the conversation with their boss that they wanted to. I mean, we've broken through a lot of stuff for them as well. We've given them a lot of different insights, really to be able to help both of them, move forward. And I think just really the aspect. But there was a term that I'd heard many years ago from a negotiating trainer. I forget who it was, but I remember the comment: "We don't get what we deserve. We get what we negotiate." Now, maybe because he
Yeah.
was trying to sell a negotiating course, but I think that's very it's very relevant, and I think particularly being able to communicate it as far as the other aspect, which is here's the other aspect. It's we all want to be seen as valuable. I think I genuinely believe that on some
Of
level.
course.
But here's the thing: management, yes, they should see us they should see the value that we bring, and they should see exactly what we bring. But that's not how real life works.
No, it
Real
doesn't.
life is like management, senior leadership. They've all got their own stuff going on as well. They've got their own internal battles that they're focusing on. And here's the other thing: they very often don't want to be that hands-on because they don't want to get a negative label of being micromanagers.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so it's like this. It's this double-edged sword. It's like this balance with regards to what do I think that I'm doing well to bring to the table versus what does my management see. Your management, even with the best intentions in the world, is not always going to see exactly the great things that you do, which is another reason why writing down, those 5 things every day, the 5 things that you've done well today to add value, that
Yeah.
starts giving you a list. Because I'll tell you something else that's happened in personal lived experience with salary negotiation, particularly, when I was in corporate in the UK, was saying, listen, I want to, I think I should have a salary increase of this amount. And the next question that comes back, which is, well, why?
Yeah.
And here's the thing: it's like, and that's like a shot to the gut, because it's like, well, don't you know? Don't you know? It's like, where have you been the last year?
Hello. Hello.
Can you see me? Can you see me?
Yeah.
It's like they say, well, what have you done? What have you done over the last year that's been so incredible? And that's a fair enough question. But here's the insight: as an employee being asked that question, you can never think of exactly what you've done that's been truly outstanding.
Correct.
Unless you're writing that stuff down,
Yeah.
5 at 5 every single day. That's what you're doing. That's what you're focusing on. So you got that list. So
Yeah.
again, that starts building up that confidence. But I've had a few different experiences with this, which have been very, very interesting. And I'll go back a little bit into time in the UK, because obviously that's where the vast majority of my employee role was being an employee there. And there was obviously I haven't spoken a huge amount about sort of the background and the nightclubs and things like that, but there was I went through 2.5 years and more than 3,000 job rejections before I could get a job where I could wear a suit.
Yes, yes, I remember you telling me this story.
And it was crazy because I didn't have any university qualifications or anything like that. And it was just like, you go through 2.5 years and got more than 3,000 job rejections because I wanted to prove that when I went back on holiday to South Africa, I wanted to firstly have more money in my pocket than I left, which wasn't much because when I arrived, it was £400, sorry. And I wanted to have a job that I had to wear a suit at. And that would show that I was different to who I was when I left. Anyway, I got a job with a brokerage there. And after the 2.5 years, I got a break where I actually went in and I met with a recruitment consultant. The recruitment consultant said to me, she goes, listen, she was awesome. She was completely off the wall. I think I smelled alcohol in her breath regularly, but she was off the wall, but she was brilliant. She was like really arty and sort of out there. And she said to me, Paul, listen, with your resume, I don't think we can get you a permanent job. But have you ever considered temping? And at that time, I was working on the nightclubs. I was working at the clubs. So I figured, okay, well, I could probably scale back the clubs to maybe a Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. And during the week, I could work doing temping work whilst she's trying to get me work with a permanent role. Of course, I hadn't made the connection that a lot of businesses will employ from temporary to full-time. I hadn't made that connection in my 25, 26-year-old brain at that time. And I got a job working as a filing boy for a global brokerage in the square mile of London, which is the financial services area, which was I was so proud of myself that, for the first week anyway, I was really proud of myself that I had this job. But and I was literally just the filing boy there, so it was that. And then I was thinking, I think when you're like 18, 19, you've got all these big goals that when you're to 26, you'll be a multimillionaire and the world's going to be a great place and all of this. I remember thinking to myself, you're 25 years old and you're working as a filing boy making, I don't know, $4.25 an hour or something like that. That was the one side of my brain. And the other side of my brain's going, listen, man, all you wanted was an opportunity. You just wanted that opportunity to prove, because after 2.5 years and more than 3,000 job rejections, the job is what you're after, but the focus is just give me an opportunity. That's all I want, is that opportunity to get in, to have that conversation. To actually, because, I want to prove that I can work hard and I'll be in before everybody, leave after everybody. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. The full 9 yards. But getting that job as a temp. And then I've moved into a position there. They gave me a permanent position there, overseeing the admin team. And then I moved from there into actually placing business. So that was going real well. And then sort of found a bit of a niche, actually doing business development, with brokering deals with different legal firms and stuff like that. So found a bit of a sweet spot. And then because of that, got headhunted across between different brokers. Because you think about it, if you can negotiate a deal to get a significant client moving away from one broker towards another, you become effectively like hen's teeth, because it's like you become very valuable because you can actually bring that business over, because a lot of the business, it won't move. It's pretty stagnant market. And I remember getting headhunted and then sending out to work with this one business and setting up a new division that we had there. But I had to go out on secondment out to another business, to another. So I was in London. I went out to another part of the UK, and I was literally lived out there for 3 months. It cost me like a relationship and stuff like that, all of this. But things went really well. We hit the goals, and I finished up that contract, or that secondment, up by October time, I think. And I came back, and the agreement before I left for secondment to go and stay there for 3 months was, okay, if I get this deal, if I hit the targets we have to hit with this particular project, it was a big project. If I get that done, we're going. I want this as a salary increase, and I also want directorship. And that would have made me the youngest director in that industry in the UK at that time. And I was given the assurances, no problems at all. But that ended in October. I came back and we'd done the business. It was great. High fives, hugs, everything like that. Of course, all of those big decisions get made back in April of the following year. So April rolls around, all the money's in the bank already, and they say to me that one of my bosses comes to me and says, "Listen, about that agreement we had, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Directorship's not happening. This whole thing's not happening." And it was just like, firstly, I'd lost a relationship over it. Well, it was one of the aspects said significantly living in a hotel for 3 months on an expense account doesn't do a huge amount for your health. Yeah. All of this, and you absolutely smashed it. We built a great new sector there. Really developed a whole new line of business for this company. And they said to me, "Listen," my boss, my director said, "Listen, we're not going to do it for you." And I said, "Well, that's not right, because you said to me that I would get A, B, and C as far as that, that salary negotiation." He goes, "Well, go and speak to the chairman." So I went to speak to the chairman. And I said to him, "Listen, this was what was given to me. You know how hard I worked. I was out there." And he goes, "What do you mean how hard you worked? I know you went out there, but I've got the whole of London, the whole of this global business to run. What do you think I'm doing focusing on you?" And it was like, that was direct and straight up, but fair enough. I mean, I'm thinking, GCM. And then, so I didn't get what I was after. But then there was this decision as well. It's like, okay, what do I do? Do I stay in the role I'm currently in, and just take it? So you've got this expectation and just take it, or do you go out and look for something else? And because I was earning good salary, good money, phenomenal benefits, all of the stuff. But it's like, you've got to make that decision. And I would have been at this time now probably 31 or something like that. And I remember sitting on the couch I was sitting on the couch watching TV on a Sunday afternoon, and my housemate at the time, another guy called Craig, actually, also a legend. And he says, "Oh, Brew, you got to," because he was a big muso. He loved his music. He goes, "Brew, you got to watch this new video. This new movie." I said, "What's the movie?" And he goes, "It's about this rapper called Eminem." And it's like, what? I think I've heard Eminem's music before. I don't know. But it was like, watch that movie 8 Mile. You've seen 8 Mile, eh?
Yes.
And at the end, he comes in, he goes, as the credits are running, goes, that song comes through. It's like, "Yo, you got one shot, one opportunity to see everything you ever wanted in one moment. Would you catch it, or would you let it slip?" And I remember thinking, you've got all the opportunity in the world now to walk away from this, to go and start something different. Because I'd started learning to trade the financial markets at that time as well. And stepping away from that, it's like, I thought, you know what, at the age of 31, if I do this and it all goes upside down, if I leave the city and it goes completely upside down, then I can always go back and start working the clubs again, And from there, worked on an exit plan. And but that was the situation. It was like the ultimate sort of setup that I wanted with regards to, this is what I think I deserve. And of course, they were happy to agree with me before I went away to go and do the project, Yeah. But when you come back 3 or 4 months down the line, people have short memories, and it's like, what leverage have I got when they've said to me no? So it's just like, okay. But that was a rough situation. But again, I think that, those rough situations very often, to make that move, it's like, okay, well, firstly, I've got to understand how people perceive each other, which is fine. But now let me go out and do something else. So yeah, there we go.
That's I actually heard that part of you. I've never heard that story before, and that's pretty tough spot to be in, eh? Not a very nice thing to happen. I've heard that story, similar stories, over the years. People go out and do the promise the world and do all the hard work and kind of get the rug pulled out from under their feet later on. I have a question brewing in my mind that maybe, are people quite hesitant to ask for more money in corporate? Like, what could be asking for a raise? Yeah, would you say that you're looking to go up through the company every time you get salary negotiations every year, and you're looking for a raise? What would be the bad outcome? What would be the worst possible results
Guys, I don't even think
of a failed negotiation?
I don't even think they're seen as negotiations. I think very often, and companies have an X size budget that they can provide as far as salary increases.
Yeah.
I think that the vast majority of time, this is how much we are. This is the salary increase. This is what we're giving you. There you go from there. Now, I think some people push back and they say, "Well, I was expecting this, this, and this," which is then a difficult situation. But I think a lot of the time, people will take the increase, or if there's no increase, we've got no budget this year because businesses have not done well. And we had that a lot as well in the financial services where everything's been frozen. Imagine. There's no bonuses this year, which was interesting because I shouldn't even laugh at this, but there was a lot of people who, as soon as there was no bonuses for the year, let's just say that divorce lawyers were very busy in that time of the year, which was mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. With that said, it's like I think a lot of the time people are terrified of getting the no, because then it's like, I'd rather say yes and take this than have my boss, somebody who maybe I respect, say no, and then me having to try and justify why I'm valuable for that next for that pay increase. And I don't know about your experiences, man, but I absolutely get it. People battle to talk about themselves in positive lights. They really do.
That's what I was just thinking.
And there would be no more tangible platform, I guess, for an employee than when it comes to salary negotiations. Why I think and people battle with this. I know professional artists. When I say artists, I'm not talking about pay. I'm talking about like music and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Who won't go out and promote themselves actively because they just want to be discovered. And because they don't they battle to talk about themselves. And I've had these conversations with people. It's like, and I think exactly the same when it comes to a salary negotiation. Justify your position. It's not an easy thing to do.
Maybe it's the way they're framed. It's definitely not an easy thing to do. Like last week we spoke about me. Yeah, it was a struggle. That was a struggle.
Mate, destined to be one of the game-changing podcasts, right?
Oh yeah, sure. Sure. The top 1% right there, people. Don't lose your copy of that one. But you're right, people. I know myself, it's hard to like justify a lot of the time why I'm such a valuable worker, or so I go about it in other ways. But maybe it's the way they're framing the question, and maybe they're getting worried about the answer no.
Yeah,
no is a pretty good spot to start. Like if you were to ask for more and get turned down, which is fair enough. That's what happens sometimes, yeah. And like you said, the boss is worried about a million other things and not focused on you. Maybe you could see that as an opportunity to ask them something along the lines of, well, how do I get to that level?
Yeah.
What do I need to give you? What do I need to show you for me to get that? How do I? What do you need from me to make me part of that team or part of the deal, or how do I go and sit in that chair? Tell me how I do it, and I'll do it. I'll write it down here in front of you. I'll come and see you in 3 months. Watch this.
I think that's a real good proactive type of role to have, and I think that was pretty much what I did with the company that I just made some reference to now. But it's dependent. I mean, I think I had it as a gentleman's agreement at that time. I don't think it was anything in writing. I don't think so anyway, not that I recall. That's a great question. How can I'm currently on this, next year I want to be on this. What do I need to do to be able to achieve it? I think that's a phenomenal question, Cousin. I think for everybody listening to this, I think that's really a good approach to have, being
especially if you're telling them, this is where I want to go, mate. This is what I want to be. And if you've got, well, I would suggest that if I'm the boss and I've got someone who's like that, who's, determined, this is where I'm going, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to be, you can either harness yourself to that, or, if that's not kind of your person, that's not where you can go, that's not what you want, you can let them go. But
Yeah.
if you've got someone like that wants to achieve, who wants this and wants that, that's a good person you want on your side, someone you want on your team.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. I think and again, we if we really want to be able to negotiate well, you have to be able to see what's going on with the other party. And I think that when it comes to salary negotiations, I think a lot of the time the employee is not actively thinking about seeing it from the employer's point of view. Yes. I mean, like, what is the situation? Have they got sort of 10% that they can share around 10 people? What is the actual setup that they got there at the moment? If they can figure out, okay, what would be the best approach here, I think it's much better than just, and I think this is what happens with people is they build it up mentally. You think, okay, I'm hoping for 5%. 5% would be great. 5%. And they build it up, and they can think why. And their friends say, yeah, you're definitely worth 5% in this. And then bang, they get a 2% increase. Then it's like, where do I go from there? And it's like, what are the other options? And it's like, yeah, I just think that there is so much stuff that the better people communicate, the better expectations are going to be managed. And I get it. Not, every single person you ask, I think most people, let's say 95% of people that you ask are going to say that they deserve to get paid more money. And I don't think it's just because of, tight-fisted bosses or, capitalistic, bottom line focused type of folks. I think there's very often a miscommunication between, the work that somebody's doing and actually, the value that's bringing between those two parties.
Plus, if they don't know, if management, the boss, however you want to say it, if they don't know what your expectations are or where you want to go and what you want to do, how are they supposed to know?
Absolutely.
Maybe there's already 4 people in line in front of you that you don't realize, and you're trying really hard to impress someone, and all of a sudden you find out, I'm 5th in line.
Yeah.
Well, getting that, like you said, that open line of communication. This is where I want to go. These are my dreams and goals and whatnot. This is, it might be a simple case of, well, sorry, mate, we've already got 3 of those, but we have got this, and you've got these skills. What about that? There might be another outcome that you haven't thought of as well. But that open line of communication, I think, is imperative. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the confidence aspect is a big one. I think the ability to communicate in a way that builds perceived value is massive as well. Yeah. I really think that's a massive challenge there. And then the aspect of dealing with rejection. People don't like to be rejected. This is why, as an ugly teenager, it's easy to sell. If you experience being an ugly teenager, you can sell all day, baby. That could be one of our keys to great success, sales success.
Yeah, there you go.
Being socially awkward as a teenager. Rejection is nothing new. Oh, Jesus. But listen, I mean, on the, you do a search on these types of things, and they'll tell you things like basic factors, like firstly, know your value or your position and value in the market. So if you're doing ABC job in X, Y, and Z industry, what is the seek, rate on that, which could give you some indication. Also evaluating things like perks and benefits that people are getting, considering, I'll tell you something else, the perks and benefits that people get, and that includes now obviously things like working from home. I mean, you go back 4 or 5 years, 5 years working from home. If you were able to work from home, it'd be like, whoa, check you out, eh?
Yeah, wow.
That's coming to work with you, yeah.
That's the story there.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. That's another good point. Like, maybe it's not all about, especially now, or not so much especially now, it's always been, some things are more valuable to people than others.
Absolutely.
Like, not 100%. Everything has to be about money, right? So maybe you like more time off. Maybe part of your negotiation is, hey, listen, every year in the middle of July, I like to go to the International Game Fishing Tournament in Western Samoa for 2 weeks.
just to be randomly broad, yeah.
That's just what we're doing here. So, is it possible for me to slide in another 5 or 6 days of, annual leave? Let's work that in. How can I work 4 days?
Yeah.
How can I get an extra day off a month here? Or, I don't like Mondays anymore. Mondays aren't doing it for me. So there's a lot more to it than, and especially if you're a valued employee, like you said, make sure you're a good asset to the business. There's always other avenues of remuneration other than money.
And I think going to your boss or whoever's going to be the decision maker on this with, plan A, what you want, which might be more money. If you don't get plan A, okay, put up a good argument for why you deserve that, why you're entitled to that. But secondly, if you don't get plan A, what are the other options? Because I'll tell you this, cuz I reckon in the industry, in the business industry, in business right now, I'm seeing a lot of people, and I see this a lot in selling, but leadership as well, where people are coming so under the pump on their profit margins, they're looking for other areas to add value in what they're doing. So, if you're under the pump on profit, on the profit margins, because customers are saying you've got to sharpen your pencil, that type of thing, then effectively that profit margin gets less and less and less. But if we can find a better way of being able to add more value in a way that is not that price sensitive, then we're on to good things,
Yes.
Like I think to your point there with regards to, okay, I wanted 5%, but you've given me 2%. What about if I'm currently working 4 days at the office, 1 day at home? What if you gave me 2 days at home and 3 days, so having other options, or being totally biased here, what if we put you on training courses? So you give me 2 training classes a year, which I tell you, and again, I'm very biased saying this, but really creates I think if the facilitator is doing their job well, then effectively creating a real growth mindset, which really leads to even more of an asset of the individual there. But all these little different things that you can do that add more to other people, and it's not that expensive to give you. If you can, again, the only place we get win-win scenarios when it comes to negotiations is if we can discover those 3 to 5 unknown unknowns, which is what's valuable for you, but easy for me to give you, and what's valuable to me and easy for you to give me. If we can find that, good things come from there. But it takes work. And I tell you, for anybody listening to this, please, folks, for anyone listening to this, please just realize that your leadership doesn't always see exactly what you see. So you have to be proactive. Firstly, expect them not to see all the value that you bring. We would love to all be seen for the value we bring, but be proactive in sharing that value and communicating it, and be proactive with it. Because when you're proactive with it, I think that people really, they take notice, they see you as an asset and of more value. And, that's good for you as well. It doesn't mean you have to be big noting yourself or anything like that. It's, I'll tell you this as well. Here's another beautiful little tip is people won't talk about the value they bring because they're terrified of getting that, tall poppy syndrome, or you're just big noting yourself, or you're arrogant or you're cocky or what have you. Here's a beautiful little insight is people will seldom put a negative label on you when you talk in terms of benefits to them. Yeah. People will seldom put a negative label on you when you talk in terms of benefits to them. So what do I mean by that? If it's like, if I come to you and I say, Craig, I've done X, Y, and Z for your business this year. It's like, well, no, I've done X, Y, and Z. That's one thing. Maybe I'm big noting myself now. If I come to you and say, listen, Craig, I've done X, Y, and Z for you in your business, which means that now that you can spend an extra 3 days at home or something like that. Now I've spoken in terms of benefits to you. You're not going to put a negative label on me in that situation. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It makes perfect sense. And you hear it all the time. That the flip side of that is nobody notices what I do until I don't do it. You wait until you leave. You wait until I leave and you realize how much I do. It's a bit like,
Yeah, let's not get to that situation,
Don't go stand there waving a flag saying, hey, I just finished this, But you're right. Open open their eyes to the benefits you give them. Make sure that they're aware. No, you don't have to ram it down their throat, but make sure you're on the same page when it comes to what you're thinking as opposed to what they're saying and what they're getting. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And folks, just for anybody listening, if you want to know how to do that, just message us and we'll put together a quick video for you, just giving you more detailed situation.
I like sorry. Yep.
More detailed breakdown of exactly how to do that. And we're always open for ideas that how we can better serve clients. Yeah.
Always. Because we have a hard time staying on topic.
Absolutely. I'm putting that down to a creative thought process, mate.
Creative thought process, yes, not wandering mind.
Rather than my dyslexia and lack of attention. But
yes, your lack of attention, yes.
Look, there's a squirrel outside.
Yes. Happens all the time. Get distracted by something shiny, yeah? So, I was always wondering about the downsides of if it goes bad. I mean, if it goes bad, you always there's always the case of you can leave. If you're that upset about it, you can start like doing what you did, but being proactive about being headhunted. Maybe approach a couple of recruiters and see what's on the table. My daughter went through that last year. Wasn't feeling the love from an employer that she was at, and we managed to get her in touch with a recruiter. A fabulous lady, and it all worked out for the best for everyone. So there's always other options apart from just plan A and then sitting there and waiting for next year to get your 2% when you want 5%. There's always other options. Maybe the recruiter can help you see the value that you don't see in yourself. Maybe the recruiter can help you. It's that independent third party, so to speak, to help you to just give you another perspective on where you are. Maybe you need to do what you said and go and try and get some more training and personal development so you can reach that goal or something, or move here or sideways shift, and there's more options. So
I know that recruiter you're talking about, and she really is fantastic. She said I had some meetings, some dialogues with her beforehand. She was absolutely brilliant, and very straight down the line, which was awesome. Absolutely
very
fantastic.
Good. Best outcome for everyone. Yeah.
Here's just one other thing though that I'll say on that is because, and this is something the trap I fell into, and I was kind of lucky it worked out well, but it might not have worked out well. Is if I when I came away from that situation that I just identified, I felt like it was something personal. I really did. And I was very, very, very good at taking things very personally back in the day. I really, really was. A sort of, it's just like, it's all about, that's why I had to play in the scrum, because I thought anytime people were getting together, they were talking about me, So if the United Nations are meeting behind closed doors, were they talking about me? That's the level of insecurity there was. But, effectively, it was when that happened, I thought they've taken me for they've taken advantage of the situation. They think I'm going to do nothing about it. They think I'm a coward and I'm just going to tuck tail and run and just keep doing what I'm doing. And it was very tempting to just accept that and nod my head and say yes, boss, and move forward. And it would have been a rough go, but here was the thing: to make the move across, particularly, and the companies that I went to work with afterwards, I actually knew a number of their teams, so I had an idea of their culture as well. But here's the other thing: is if you jump from one business into another, sometimes it can be out of the frying pan into the oven. That's the other aspect as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which is, if you think, to hell with this, I'm going to go and see somebody that values me and all of that good stuff, and then you get there and you think, oh God, this is not that great. It's not as good. We often think the grass is greener, but truth of the matter is, the grass is greener where you water it. And I think, again, if you're looking to build that value in yourself as somebody who's skilled, who adds more value as an employee, I think that's a better approach on that.
Absolutely. And after last week's episode, that accidentally happened to me. So
absolute legend, man.
Completely unplanned.
So happy for you, man. For real.
I
Absolutely brilliant.
yeah, just don't even know how I ended up where I am. But so as you probably all know, I'm getting older, body's starting to give out, a lot of things are lining up. And I decided to leave my current employer, my dream job. Absolute dream job. I love this job. Didn't even know it was my dream job. Love it. So talked to the boys a couple of weeks ago and said it's time for me to move on. They weren't too happy. They understood why. Um, and it was all right, fair enough. And then there's an old guy that works with us, Alan. He's one of a kind, this old boy. He is a cracker. He's in his 70s and he's got so much knowledge and experience, but he just hands it out. His communication style is blunt, to put it nicely. He came to me and he said, "Why are you leaving? You're mad. Have my job." So it's like a construction manager's job. He's out there on the road with clients, organising the crane setups, organising the gantries, probably hundreds of other things. I don't even know what he does.
Yeah.
And he came to me and said, "You're mad if you leave. Why don't you take my job?" And I'm like, "I don't want your job. Why would I want that?" And then started to think about what his job actually was. Spoke to you about it, spoke to another couple of people about it. But where I was going was a massive unknown.
Yeah.
In terms of something that you just spoke about, like culture and am I going to be the right fit? And there's so many things that, like I said, I'd done all the study, I'd done all the theory and everything, but never really got a chance to put it into practice.
Yeah.
And so that was still a big worry and a big unknown. And then all of a sudden, this avenue opened up, and all the boys were like, "Well, you're perfect. We've already got the relationship. We already know all about you. We don't have to, Alan's going to leave at the end of the year anyway."
Yeah.
Or within 6 months or so. We'll just train you up to take his job. Because when they brought in, like you said, they brought in another construction manager, our other construction manager, Phil. He's been there longer than me. He's been there maybe 5 or 6 years now, maybe even longer. And they said there was real teething problems because it's a small, tight unit, tight business. And you've got to wear a lot of different hats. You've got to do a lot of different things, which I love. And I don't know what the teething process were. I wasn't there. I'm not privy to it. And it doesn't bother me because Phil's awesome there now. He's one of the main men. But they said getting him in was a real, create a lot of friction, a lot of new stuff coming in, new ideas. This is how I'm doing things, blah, blah, blah. So they said it'd probably be perfect. The three boys, and by boys, the three, there's two, the company's run by two men, and three boys split between them, three sons, and they basically run the crews, run the site crews, and they're all happy for it. They were like, "Well, we've got the relationship there already. Yeah. We know what you can do. It's not much more training up. You can go out on site and talk to all the clients and set everything up, and we can keep doing what we're doing. We're happy for that, and then." Eventually, when their dads move on in the next, 10, 15 years, who knows what the plan is, we can move on and take over. And it was totally unplanned by me. Totally unplanned. I could never plan something like this, people. But it might end up being my perfect job. It's taken out a lot of those unknowns.
Yeah.
But I still get off the tools, which is one of the big factors, because then it'll let this old body maybe go a bit longer.
Yeah.
I've been learning all the stuff I need: leadership, negotiations, communications, all that good stuff. I get to put it in practice in the environment that I'm already comfortable in.
Absolutely. Man, so, I think you're going to smash it out the park, man. I'm so happy for you. I really am. That's absolutely awesome.
Still pretty scary. Still a lot of stuff that I've got to take on, but not, it's kind of like knowing stuff. Yeah. I can see what I have to do. It's not just completely out there. Like, I wonder what's happening here. So, working on that at the moment, working on the negotiations and making sure everyone's on the same page with that. Went and spoke to everyone about it first to make sure there was no dramas moving forward, because that was the last thing I wanted. Everything's been positive. So I don't know if they've remembered that I've told them that I'm going to Bali for 40 days. Though.
40 days?
Yeah.
JCM, bro. 40
Hey,
minutes.
it's
Mind you, I suppose you've earned it over the last couple of months. You've earned it.
no, my wife's earned it. I'm tagging along. I am chief bag carrier, bottle washer, and we're off. So,
Yeah.
and this is what was never part of the plan. So the holiday was always part of the plan. The staying with the same employer wasn't. So
Yeah.
I'll have to sneak that one in somehow. But just, see you next year. But yeah, so I completely understand the difficulty of someone who is not only wanting to move jobs, leave where they are, the unknown of where they're going can be terrifying for lots of different reasons. Lots of
Absolutely.
different reasons.
Yeah.
So, but also, thank you for all the help you gave me on these to see the options and the opportunities and get myself in a position where I can take on a role like that confidently.
Yeah.
And give it a fair old crack.
Well, mate, honestly, I think you make your own luck, very, very often, particularly being proactive with what you're doing, having the guts to go out and make that change, and not just talking the talk, but walking the walk as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mindset shift. All of a sudden, you just realize you can do that. We spoke about last week with tradies. A lot of tradies coming off the tools, going into management or sales or leadership positions, and it seems to be quite prevalent nowadays. So it's something that, and I spoke to a couple of guys this week on similar subjects. Big friend of ours, he's struggling with the computer skills side of things.
Yeah.
And that's fair enough too. He's our age. No, well, he's younger than me because I'm old now, but he's your age, I think. Mid-40s, mid-late 40s, the big fella, and it's the computer skills that he's struggling with.
It's the size of his fingers, man. It's the size of his fingers trying to use those small little keyboards.
I know. Hello. But he and I spoke to him about it, and it's while I said to him, he made mention something along the lines of these young people coming through, they're like coders when it comes to using Excel. They just bang it out in seconds. And I watch my daughters and my son they come and help me with some stuff.
Yeah.
I'm left scratching my head like, whoa, what happened there?
Yeah.
But I said to him, how many of them? So that's I think something that a lot of people my age, tradies who haven't been exposed a lot to computers, the office side of computers, might struggle with. But then I turned around to him and said, well, yeah, but how many of those young people can go on site and look at a job and tell them in a couple of minutes, that's really good, that's wrong, we could have done it like this.
Yeah.
You can't teach that experience. I can teach you how to do computers. You could go and get a course. You could take your time out, do 2 or 3 nights a week. There's probably stuff online. Find that 15, 20 minutes a day and teach yourself and learn and go more. But you can't be taught the experience. You just can't.
Absolutely.
That's where the tradies, I think, who come up really need to have a good think about what they're doing, understand what they bring to the table.
Yeah.
It's going to be stuff you have to work on, but it's better than staying the same. You know what I mean? You can be living the same couple of months over and over again.
I'll tell you actually, because on that point, that course I ran this week, there were 2 gentlemen on there, 3 gentlemen actually, that I'd worked with before. 2 of them were both tradies that have come off the tools and now are working in business development. And I tell you, I think I worked with them maybe 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And when I saw them, the one guy particularly was carrying himself with a completely different energy. It was so awesome to see because, again, he'd just been just so awesome. I mean, because I remember 6 months ago that some of the looks he was giving me was like, I've lost you and I had to go back. It was like, make sure you're okay and everything like that. And he's one of those guys who's come off the tools, moving more into the communications aspect, and he's training people up now, which is just awesome. But he carried himself with a completely different level of energy, and it was beautiful to see. I think he's really happy, really living life, moving in the right direction, which was awesome. And his mate was like that as well. But I certainly, sometimes you see those big differences. It's just like, so happy for you, man. So happy.
That's so good to hear. I mean, I could be stereotypical here and say that a lot of guys are tradies because we struggled at school. Yeah, we when I went and did my Dogman's course. Now, Dogman's course, for anyone who doesn't know, is the qualification to work with cranes. Okay, it's like the base qualification to work with cranes. There's a lot of math involved in it. Now, I'll be honest, you very rarely use math after you've got the qualification, but to get it, you need to do the qualification. It's all on your chains. It's on where your choke points are, weights, all that. And there's actual equations you have to do. Most of us weren't good at math in the first place.
Yeah.
And then you haven't done math for 20 years and you've got to go and do it again. It's a struggle. And that's, I think, a lot of like a fear of a lot of tradies, like, oh, I'm worried about this, I'm not sure about that. You know, they use these kind of words. And so there's a lot of scary turning points that you maybe get stuck on. Once you realize it's not that bad, once you realize it's only a few little bits and pieces and you get the swing of things and away you go, mind-altering, life-changing.
That you see how big these monsters get in our minds. We think we're no good at this. No, it's got maths in it. I'm no good at it. It gets bigger in our minds and it stops us. It stops us from even trying because we get defeated before we even get to the to the aspect of it, you know, which is a challenge. But listen, my man, I think we're gonna have to call that in now. I got some prep to do for tomorrow. I got another couple of big days coming up. So yes, exactly.
Yes, you got to get yourself beautiful, man. Like
that'll be an 8-hour effort there, becoming beautiful. Yeah,
cucumbers on the eyes. Get back. I myself have to go and don't. What am I going to do? Make my overnight oats and probably go to sleep on the couch watching the TV or getting the TV to watch me. Usual stuff around this house. Big social life here.
Rock and roll. Cuz, as ever, mate, been a real pleasure. Thank you so much. And folks, thank you. We appreciate your attention. And if there's anything further you'd like us to talk about, please let us know. Yeah.
That's it. Hit us up on the socials, people. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe or whatever. Either way, we're back next week.
Cheers.